Welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle and today is National Smoke and Mirrors Day. And so I just thought this was a really fun holiday to look at books, to curate some books that fit this holiday. So smoke and mirrors led me to think of a couple different things. I thought of magicians and illusionists because they employ smoke and mirrors in their shows. But also the idea of smoke and mirrors is to, to deceive people and to cause distraction while something else is going on. So I also thought of con artists or grifters. So I've got some books for you that fit those things. Some books that are about magicians or illusionists, and some books that are about con artists or grifters. But before we get into that, I need to show you the book that I found that fit yesterday's prompts. And so the prompts were to find a book that was about a family legacy or an inheritance, and that had a detective the detective was a person of color. So I'm going to go with A Will to Kill by R.V. Raman. This was published in 2020 and was a fantastic mystery. I really enjoyed it. It was isolated, it was in the style of Agatha Christie, and the detective it's set in India, and the detective is Indian, and it definitely has to do with family inheritance and legacies. The patriarch of the family has invited the family to the house for the weekend because he is going to change his will, and he's also let people know that he actually has two wills, and one goes into play if he dies a natural death, and one goes into play if he dies an unnatural death, which is really interesting. So that's what I'm going for this prompt. Okay, so first of all, I actually found some books that were called Smoke and Mirrors. So I'm going to start with those. The first is a book by John Ramsey Miller called Smoke and Mirrors. This is from 2008. One shot, one warning, and no end in sight. The murder was shocking in its brutality. A 1,000-yard high-velocity shot that left an innocent 19-year-old babysitter dead on a Mississippi plantation. At first, police called it a hunting accident, but the killer left a calling card for ex-U.S. Marshal Winter Massey, and when Massey investigates, he knows exactly who the shooter is. He just doesn't know why. And then another one called Smoke and Mirrors by Barbara Michaels from 1989. This is when young Erin Hartstock joins the staff committed to electing Congresswoman Rosemary White Marshall, senator from Virginia. She foresees nothing more than boring secretarial work for a slightly more interesting than usual boss. But as the campaign heats up, Erin finds herself fascinated by the charismatic candidate and her surrounding rogues gallery of advisors and volunteers. Soon, however, the campaign flares up in more startling and sinister ways. A series of increasingly dangerous fires, an unmistakably violent attack, a seemingly accidental death. Among Erin's newfound friends, colleagues, and lover, a secret waits. A secret so dark, so terrifying, its bearer will stop at nothing. Here is a no-holds-barred look at the high-stakes game played by the powers behind the power, where murder is the ultimate trump card, a game of smoke and mirrors from America's mistress of romantic suspense. And then that leads me very, very nicely into the magicians and illusionists category, because Elly Griffiths has written a series called the Magic Men series, or the Brighton Mysteries. They're kind of have both, the series have both titles. There are 5 in this series written between 2014 and 2019, and a 6th is slated to come out in November of 2021. This is a historical mystery series set in Brighton in the 50s. And what's interesting about this series, I quite enjoy this series, it's a bit unique. It features a band of magicians, formerly special ops soldiers in World War II, who hunt for a killer performing deadly versions of their most famous tricks. So I thought that was a really interesting concept for a mystery. Brighton, 1950. The body of a girl is found cut into 3 pieces, and Detective Inspector Edgar Stevens is convinced the killer is mimicking a famous magic trick, the zigzag girl. The trick was invented by Max Mephisto, I think, I'm not sure, with whom Edgar served in the war as part of a shadowy unit called the Magic Men, using stage tricks to confound the enemy. Max is on the traveling show circuit now, touring seaside towns with ventriloquists, sword swallowers, and dancing girls. He advises Edgar to identify the victim quickly, advice that comes back to haunt him when he discovers she was a young woman he knew well. He's soon at Edgar's side, hunting for her killer. Another death, another magic trick. Edgar and Max are sure the answer to the murder lies in their army days. When Edgar receives a letter warning of another trick on the way, the wolf trap, he knows the magic men themselves are in the killer's sights. And then the second book in that series is called Smoke and Mirrors. So that's perfect. Another book that features a magician or an illusionist is Philip Gooden's The Durham Deception. This is from his Cathedral Mystery series. There are 3 in that series, each set at a different cathedral, which is intriguing. This is the second in the series, and it involves spiritualism and stage magic, and it is set in 1874. Newlyweds Tom and Helen Ansell are drawn into the murky world of Victorian spiritualism and stage magic when they embark on a double mission to the cathedral city of Durham. Helen has been urged to check on her wealthy aunt, who has become infatuated with a medium of dubious reputation, and Tom's law firm has instructed him to take an affidavit from a stage magician who wishes it to be put on record that he obtained his mysterious Lucknow dagger by lawful means. But once they arrive in Durham, the Ansells discover that nothing is what it seems. The more questions they ask, the more riddles they seem to uncover, until a dead body turns up and Helen finds herself accused of murder. This one sounds really good, and so I'm going to keep this. This is a library book. These are all books from the library, by the way, and I'm going to keep this one out to read for myself because it sounds intriguing. All right, and then we have The Dime Museum Murders by Daniel Stashower. This is part of his Harry Houdini mysteries, and there are 4 of them between 1985 and 2001, and this is the second in the series, which came out in 1999. This was the one that I could get from the library. New York City in 1897, and young escapologist Harry Houdini is struggling to get the recognition he craves from the ruthless entertainment industry. When toy tycoon Branford Wintour is found murdered in his Fifth Avenue mansion, detectives call upon Houdini to help solve this mysterious crime. When Harry and his brother Dash reach the scene of the murder, they discover that Wintour was killed seemingly by a magic trick. This is also one I'm going to keep from the library to read. I love historical mysteries, so those are perfect. Want You Dead by Peter James. If he can't have her, then nobody can. This is the 10th in his Roy Grace series, and this was published in 2014. It is also set in Brighton, and one of the characters in this book is an illusionist. Single girl, 29, redhead and smoldering, love life that's crashed and burned, seeks new flame to rekindle her fire. Fun, friendship, and who knows, maybe more. When Red Westwood meets handsome, charming, and rich Bryce Laurent through an online dating agency, there is an instant attraction. But as their love blossoms, the truth about his past and his dark side begins to emerge. Everything he has told Red about himself turns out to be a tissue of lies, and her infatuation with him gradually turns to terror. Within a year, and under police protection, she evicts him from her flat and her life. But Red's nightmares only just beginning, for Bryce is obsessed with her, and he intends to destroy everything and everyone she has known and loved, and then her too. This is a pretty good police procedural series. I've read a lot of the books in this series, including this one. So yeah, this one has a character who is an illusionist, and it's set in Brighton. So Excellent. And then we have The Bullet Trick by Louise Welsh. I have not read this one. This was published in 2006. When down at the heels Glasgow conjurer William Wilson gets booked for a string of cabaret gigs in Berlin, he thinks he's found a chance to leave his past behind. There were certain spectators from his last show he would rather forget anyway, like the one who is now a corpse. In The Bullet Trick, Welsh moves her unforgettable characters from the gritty streets of Glasgow to London's infamous Soho district to the faded burlesque clubs of Berlin, exploring the illicit terrain of urban life after hours. With its dazzling prose, noir mystery, and extraordinary literary prowess, The Bullet Trick defies the conventions of any one genre, making it truly a show like no other. And then finally, The Vanished Man by Jeffery Deaver. This is part of his Lincoln Rhyme series. This was published in 2003 and it's the 5th in that series. It begins at a prestigious music school in New York City. A killer flees the scene of a homicide and locks himself in a classroom. Within minutes, the police have him surrounded. When a scream rings out followed by a gunshot, they break down the door. The room is empty. Lincoln Rhyme and Amelia Sachs are brought in to help with the high-profile investigation. For the ambitious Sachs, solving the case could earn her a promotion. For the quadriplegic Rhyme, it means relying on his protege to ferret out a master illusionist they've dubbed the Conjurer, who baits them with gruesome murders that become more diabolical with each fresh crime. As the fatalities rise and the minutes tick down, Rhyme and Sachs must move beyond the smoke and mirrors to prevent a terrifying act of vengeance that could become the greatest vanishing act of them all. I've read a few from this series, but I don't think that I have read this one. It sounds intriguing. All right, and now let's move on to con artists and grifters. I always find that intriguing, mostly just the ability to plan out something like that, like a con, especially a long con. I find that really intriguing. So first up is the Counterfeit Lady series by Victoria Thompson. This is the first in the series called City of Lies, and this was published in 2017. There are currently 4 in this series, with a 5th one slated to come out in December of 2021. They are set in New York. The first one is set, I think it's like 1913, maybe 1914, and the 4th one that's out, it takes place in 1918. So it's right around the First World War in New York City. Every woman plays a part, but some are more dangerous than others. Like most women, Elizabeth Miles assumes many roles. Unlike most, hers have made her a woman on the run. Living on the edge of society, Elizabeth uses her guile to relieve so-called respectable men of their ill-gotten gains. But brutal and greedy entrepreneur Oscar Thornton is out for blood. He's lost a great deal of money and is not going to forgive a woman for outwitting him. With his thugs hot on her trail, Elizabeth seizes the moment to blend in with a group of women who have an agenda of their own. She never expects to like or understand these privileged women, but she soon comes to respect their intentions, forming an unlikely bond with the wealthy matriarch of the group, whose son Gideon is the rarest of species, an honest man in a dishonest world. Elizabeth knows she's playing a risky game and her deception could be revealed at any moment, possibly even by sharp-eyed Gideon. Nor has she been forgotten by Thornton, who's biding his time, waiting to strike. Elizabeth must draw on her wits and every last ounce of courage she possesses to keep her new life from being cut short by this vicious shadow from her past. So Elizabeth is part of a family of grifters, and so that adds just a really interesting element to these historical mysteries. And then we have Janet Evanovich and Lee Goldberg with The Heist. This is the first in her Fox and O'Hare series. There are 7 written between 2013 and 2020. The first 5 she wrote with Lee Goldberg. The 6th she wrote with Peter Evanovich. 7th she wrote with Steve Hamilton. Okay, so we have FBI Special Agent Kate O'Hare, who is known for her fierce dedication and discipline on the job, chasing down the world's most wanted criminals and putting them behind bars. Her boss thinks she is tenacious and ambitious. Her friends think she is tough, stubborn, and maybe even a bit obsessed. And while Kate has made a name for herself for the past 5 years, the only name she's cared about is that of Nicholas Fox, an international crook she wants in more ways than one. Audacious, handsome, and dangerously charming, Nicholas Fox is a natural con man, notorious for running elaborate scams on very high-profile people. At first, he did it for the money. Now he does it for the thrill. He knows that the FBI has been hot on his trail, particularly Kate O'Hare, who has been watching his every move. For Nick, there's no greater rush than being pursued by a beautiful woman, even one who aims to lock him up. But just when it seems that Nicholas Fox has been captured for good, he pulls off his greatest con of all. He convinces the FBI to offer him a job working side by side with Special Agent Kate O'Hare. This one is a really fun mystery series. Okay, so there you have it. There are just a few books for National Smoke and Mirrors Day that are either about magicians or illusionists or con artists and grifters. What do you think? Have you read any of these books? Do you think that you would tend more toward the magicians and illusionists side or the con artists and grifters side? I would love to hear about that as well. And before I say goodbye, it's time to play another round in our M&M manuscript matchup game. All right, I've got my bag of M&Ms. We'll give it a shake. Okay. Yellow. Yellow gives us cover. And yellow gives us a yellow cover. All right, so we need to find a mystery that has a yellow on the cover. Brown gives us miscellaneous. And yellow again gives us weather or environment. Okay, so we need to find a mystery that has yellow on the cover and has something to do with weather or the environment as part of the story. So there could be a huge snowstorm or a rainstorm, or snow could play a part in the story, or the environment, there's an avalanche or something. Just anything to do with the weather or the environment in the story. I'd love to know what book you find that fits those prompts, and I will see you for another video soon. Bye!